Welcome back to Raptor-One.
Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars. Season 2, Chapter 25. The Ledger of Ends. Gray River slows. After Envy's shadow had been broken, Gray River did something rare. It slowed. Not in distance, but in weight. The corridors stretched longer, lights dimmer, as though the river itself understood the Voyagers were nearing a boundary. Saran sat with their pencil and did not write. Their stillness was heavier than usual. Finally, they said aloud what the crew already felt. We are close to the end of this mission. Gray River doesn't bend forever. When it ends, so may we, or at least this we. The bowls hummed present, but even that note trembled with anticipation, as though unsure whether it would be the same voice tomorrow. Preparing the ship. The crew began what they called last checks, though no one wanted to name them that. Varric tightened hinges across the ship, listening to each click settle into my nephew fixed it, as though ensuring the vessel would speak with an honest throat long after he'd stepped away. Darrow cut and retied guidelines, leaving knots where any hand, new or old, could feel their intention. Plain knots. For anyone, he said. Talon dulled every sharp edge of their tools, leaving nothing that could tempt a new Voyager into mistaking perfection for purpose. Ira pressed fresh rests onto copper and glass, mapping silence across the ship like breadcrumbs left for strangers who might one day need to breathe here. Chiron stacked tokens crooked in places only a strategist would notice, like quiet warnings. Error lives here, and that is safety. Tessa adjusted the ember sling so it sat at a child's height, not her own, whispering to it as one does before handing a lantern to another hand. Cyrus tucked the Inno Comet tin under the slab, where it would be found by accident, discovery, not inheritance. Together, they made the ship ready for hands they had not yet met. Preparing themselves. But it wasn't only metal and tools that needed banking. It was hearts. Tessa spoke first, voice soft. If this mission ends, and we're not the ones to carry on, then let it be known. I never sang for the river. I sang for us. Cyrus added, and if someone new takes my place, may they never chase a crowd bigger than this one. He tried to laugh, but his hand tightened on hers. Varric grunted. Any engineer worth their salt can patch a hinge, but if they don't mutter while doing it, they're not doing it right. Darrow smirked. Any brother worth their salt can tie a rope, but if they don't leave one knot loose, they're not worth trusting. Ira, tired, smiled through chalk dust lips. If you forget my rests, you'll cough yourselves into rhythm again. So don't forget. Talon said, if you forget my knife rules, I'll haunt you. Once only. Then I'll forgive you. Chiron looked at each of them and simply said, suspect everything except each other. And Saran? Saran only nodded. Captains come and go. The chair doesn't. Sit in it when it's your turn. Don't make it a throne. The hint of replacements. The river, sly as ever, scrawled across a wall in modest script. New crews await. Do you yield your posts? No one answered. Not yet. But every Voyager felt the question digging. Who would leave first? Who would stay? Would Raptor-One continue with them, or without? The ember pulsed once, low and steady, as if to remind them, present. Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars, Season 2. Chapter 25, The Ledger of Ends. Part 2, The Debate of Posts. The question laid bare. The river's script, do you yield your posts? had faded from the wall, but it lingered in the air heavier than iron weather or applause ever had. The Voyagers gathered in the galley, the hood dim and the embers steady, as if even the ship was listening. Saran broke the silence. We cannot ignore it. When Gray River bends to its last turn, Raptor-One may need new hands. Let's name it plain. Who would step aside if asked? Varric and Darrow. Varric leaned back, arms folded, scar furrowed. I'm not done with these hinges. But if the river wants someone younger, someone who hasn't lived their whole life cursing at bolts, I'll yield. I won't like it, but I'll yield. Darrow shook his head. You talk as if the ship wants shiny new tools. What it needs is stubborn old ones. I'd step down before you, brother. Rope can guide from the shadows. Hinges can't. The two glared, then smirked in the same breath. Their quiet pact was plain. If one left, the other might follow. Ira. She traced a rest on the tabletop with chalk dust, smiling faintly. If I step aside, it should be after I've left enough silences behind for the next voice. Silence doesn't need to be mine forever. It just needs to stay. Her tone was calm, but her eyes shimmered with fear. Would the next crew understand silence the way she did, or mistake it for absence? Talon. Talon placed their knife on the table, edge dulled, harmless. Makers are replaceable. Always have been. If a new Voyager needs tools sharper than mine, let them have them. But I'll stay until I know the knife rule will live. Once only. They looked up, eyes tired but fierce. If I leave, promise me someone will keep striking through what shouldn't be built. Chiron. He rolled his tokens, let one drop, picked it up again. I'd step down gladly. Suspicion isn't a gift. It's a weight. If someone younger wants to carry it, let them. But, he pointed at Saran, then at the crew, don't mistake my eagerness to leave for uselessness. Until the new ones earn suspicion, you still need mine. The honesty made his tokens feel heavier in his palm. Tessa and Cyrus. Tessa stroked the ember sling, hesitant. If a new voice steadies it better, I'll yield. The ember belongs to the river, not me. But, she glanced at Cyrus, then at the crew. I won't hand it over unless I trust the new hands. Cyrus squeezed her shoulder. Same for me. If someone else can keep us laughing, keep us from drowning in silence, I'll step back. But until then, he lifted the NO comment tin. I'm still the fool who shuts rooms up. The ember pulsed softly at their joined words, as if approving their unity. Saran. At last, the captain. Saran rested both hands on the slab, cross-legged as always. A captain should always be ready to yield. The chair belongs to the ship, not me. If the river demands a new commander, I'll step down without protest. They paused, voice low but steady. But I'll not yield to ambition, only to need. A throne I refuse. A chair I keep, until it's truly time. No decision, only banking. The crew didn't vote. They didn't choose. Instead, they banked the conversation the way they banked everything. Rope looped loose between Varric and Darrow. Chalk rests drawn by Ira where new Voyagers might one day sit. Talon's knife dulled, left on the table as a reminder. Chiron's tokens stacked crooked by the slab. The ember sling adjusted lower, steady in Tessa's hands. Cyrus's tin placed beside it, thus showing. Saran's pencil line etched plain. We spoke of leaving, but stayed. The river listened, and though it whispered again, it did not press. New crews await. Not yet. Speculations in the galley. The crew lingered long after their confessions, hammocks swaying gently as though the ship itself leaned in to hear. It was Cyrus, predictably, who broke the quiet. "So," he said, twirling the NO Comet tin in his fingers, "if new Voyagers are waiting, who do we think they'll be? Fresh-faced recruits? Grim veterans? A team of Raptor-2 knockoffs with better hair?" Varric snorted. "If they're younger, they'll try to prove themselves by tightening every hinge I already fixed. Good luck to them. The river will eat their pride for breakfast." Ira's dreamers. Ira tapped her chalk thoughtfully. "Maybe it'll be dreamers. People who've never seen the river before. Wide-eyed, stubborn in their own way. I'd like that. My rests would feel new in their hands." Chiron smirked. "Dreamers don't last long in corridors that whisper envy, unless they're paired with someone who suspects everything." Ira tilted her head, smiling faintly. "Then maybe one of them will be a suspicious dreamer. Stranger things have happened." Darrow and Varric's pact. Darrow laid his rope flat on the table, looping it into a lazy circle. "What matters isn't whether they're strong or steady. It's whether they tie knots plain enough for anyone to untangle. If the river gets them snarled, I want to know they can free themselves." Varric grunted. "And if they can't, I'll come back and haunt them, scar and all." Darrow elbowed him. "If we both haunt them, maybe we'll finally agree on something." Talon's fear. Talon rubbed the spine of their knife, edge still dull. What if the replacements are too clever? Makers who sharpen every tool, build machines that outthink us. Will they remember the rule of once only? Or will they cut themselves into habits they can't break? Tessa leaned closer. "Then you'll have left them the knife and the warning. That's more than most inherit." Talon nodded slowly, but their hands shook until Cyrus pushed a mug toward them, plain and chipped. "Tools aren't everything," he said. "Sometimes it's mugs." Tessa and Cyrus together. Tessa stroked the ember, her hum soft. "I don't care if they sing like me. I just hope they remember the ember isn't a prize. It's a fire, and fire belongs to all." Cyrus grinned. "And I don't care if they're louder than me. Though, impossible, but I hope they know that sometimes the funniest thing you can do is shut up." He tapped the tin. "I'll leave them this. My legacy of silence." The crew groaned, but the laughter that followed wasn't poisoned. Saran's final word. Saran looked at them all, then at the dull wall where the river's script had once glared. "Whatever new crew comes, they'll find the ship prepared. Rope, rests, hinges, tokens, hum, tin, and a pencil line waiting for them." They leaned down and wrote. "We imagine the ones who come after," and left them room. The bowls hummed present. The ember pulsed low, as though it agreed. Cyrus goes live. The galley was quiet, the crew still chewing on the river's question. Cyrus fidgeted with the NO Comet tin in one hand, then sighed. "All right," he said, looking sheepish. "Maybe it's stupid, but I've been holding back long enough. Billions of people are watching. Why not ask them?" Tessa frowned, half protective, half curious. "Ask them what?" "Who stays? Who goes? Who gets replaced?" Before anyone could stop him, he flicked his lens alive. The air filled with the soft blue glow of a billion eyes peering in. Comments exploded across his interface before he'd even opened his mouth. His question. "Hey, stars," Cyrus said, his voice steady but his free hand squeezing Tessa's. "You've been with us through the sickness, through envy, through all the river's little games. Now the river's asking us if we're ready to step down, to make room for new Voyagers. So tell me, who do you think should stay? Who do you trust to carry Raptor-One forward?" And who do you think it's time to let rest? The crew froze. It was a dangerous question, but it was also honest. The flood of replies. The comments rolled in like a tidal wave, billions of voices threading into the galley. Keep Tessa lit up instantly, her steadiness with the ember and her quiet strength resonating across worlds. She's the soul of the ship. Someone wrote, without her hum, you'd all be lost. Cyrus's name flooded next, mixed and divided. Some fans were desperate. Never leave, Cy. You're our window into the river. Others gentler. You've given us enough. Rest if you need to. Let someone else hold the lens. Varric got fierce loyalty from practical viewers. The river will collapse without him swearing at the hinges. But just as many teased, retire the grumpy uncle. Let Darrow take over. Darrow received quiet support, steady hands. He's the one you want if everything else fails. The comments for him were fewer, but they burned sincere. Ira's name was laced with poetry. Keep her. Her silences speak louder than words. Yet some muttered doubts. Silence doesn't win fights. You need louder voices. Talon's comments split down the middle. Admirers of invention begged. Never let them go. Makers are rare. Others said, they're tired. Let them rest. Give the tools to someone new. Chiron's supporters were sharp, almost suspicious themselves. You don't survive the river without a shadow mind. Replace him and you'll regret it. Still, a few jeered. Strategists just sit and brood. Find someone with hope. Saran's feed was the heaviest. Command inspires division. Captain Vale forever. No one steadies the chair like them. But another wave countered. New blood, new captain. Even the river gets tired of stillness. The crew's reaction. The Voyagers sat in silence as the flood continued. The river's question had been sharpened by billions of voices, each comment another echo of possibility. Varric spat first. Figures the crowd would want me retired. I'm not done yelling at hinges. Darrow laid a hand on his arm. Then don't yield. Not yet. Ira whispered. They don't hear the rests. Not really. How could they? Talon pushed their knife across the table. Maybe the crowd's right. Maybe I am tired. Chiron laughed once, bitter. Billions of strategists in the dark. Imagine that. Tessa squeezed Cyrus's hand tighter, eyes worried. You didn't have to ask them. Cyrus looked at her, then the lens. No, but they deserve to be heard. Doesn't mean we obey. He shut the feed with a snap. The galley felt emptier without the flood of voices, but also clearer. Saran's closing. The captain finally spoke, voice quiet but firm. The river may decide. The crowd may shout. But in the end, it is we who yield or stay. No throne, no vote, just the chair. When the time comes, each of us will know if it's ours or if it's another's. They drew their pencil line across the slab. We listened to the crowd, but kept the chair among us. The bowls hummed present, no louder than a whisper, but steady.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Raptor-One series, please subscribe. This has been a Bad Karma Drone production.